Now, a group of economists and other professional bodies have called on the government to diversify the economy to sustain the economic gains recorded in the last 25 years of democracy. The group made this call at an event put together by the Nigerian Economic Summit Group here in Abuja to discuss Nigeria's economic future beyond 25 years of democracy. I'm joined now by the chairman of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, Yusuf. Good to see you and thanks for your time. It's been a busy moment for economists and yourself. As the chairman, let's start with that. As the chairman of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, how would you assess the current state of the Nigerian economy, especially in the wake of the global economic challenges?
Right, thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. Right, so globally, I think we are in a very difficult situation. The global economy has gone through, and is going through a very tough period. There was COVID that nobody planned for. And as we were getting out of the COVID crisis, you had the Ukraine-Russian war that's disrupted supplies of food or fertilizer. And as that was slowing down a bit, now we're battling with the situation in the Middle East that is also disrupting flow of shipping across the Middle East. And so in the last 4 or 5 years, I think it's been just from one crisis onto another. And so that has affected the world, and that, of course, has also affected Nigeria, although Nigeria also had its own homegrown local issues. I mean, we've been battling elders-farmers clashes for quite a while. Insecurity, whether in the northeast or in the northwest, that has not allowed farmers to plant. And when you don't plant, there's really nothing to harvest months after. We've had 2 years of flood. I mean, 2 years ago, there was flood that affected well over 32 states out of the 36 states. In one of your reporting a few minutes ago, you talked about the flood in Jigawa that has affected more than 18,000 hectares of farmland. And so the things happening today will reap the repercussion will come months after when there's really nothing to harvest. And so I think within that context is what really has affected the country. Now, when the administration came in, 2 tough decisions were made in about the same time. Removal of the fuel subsidy, the harmonization of the FX. So that also had its own unintended consequences. And I think those are some of the things that today the nation is battling with.
Well, now, because listening to you now, we just realized that we have external and internal crisis to deal with. But again, for you and your team, what are the key economic indicators you closely monitor, and how can they be compared to what we're dealing with at the moment to what we had in the past?
Right. So the theme of the session we had today was really 25 years of democracy since 1999. What have we learned, and what can we use those lessons for another 25 years by Agenda 2050? And theoretically, you will look at macroeconomics indicator. What's inflation rate like? What's interest rate like? Or what's GDP like? But some will also argue that you can look at the human development indices, so health, education, poverty rate, unemployment rate. And if we compare both times, my sense is that it's mixed results. Yeah, 1999, GDP per capita was about $460 thereabout. Our entire GDP was less than $60 billion. GDP today is about $386 billion. GDP per capita is about 1,200. So that has increased. Yeah. Electricity, we had total supply was about 6,000 megawatts. Today, total supply is in the range of 18,000 megawatts. But distribution capacity today is 5,000. Then it was 1,500. So you say it has increased by 3, but it's not up to what we need by any stretch. Yeah. If you look at pensions, we didn't have a pension scheme, a defined contribution pension scheme. We didn't have that in 1999. Today, more than 12 million Nigerians have a defined pension scheme. We didn't have an NHIS, that's the National Health Insurance Scheme, in early 1999. Today, more than 10 million of us are covered. Now, of course, 10 million out of 220 million is small, but it's progress and moving in the right direction. So, like the Honorable Minister for Economic Planning said, we've done a bit, but we need to do more, we need to do better, and we need to do it even faster. And I think that for me summarizes, if you compare 1999 with today.
And now that you say we should do more, perhaps let's talk about how the government has been able to face the economic headwinds in terms of private-public partnership in dealing with what we are experiencing at the moment.
So as a nation, we've not done well enough with PPP. In my view, I think there is many people are of the opinion that private business is out to scheme, is out to make profit and not help the society. But that's not true, right? And I think we need to just begin to reorientate ourselves that you don't have to choose between making profit and doing good for the society, right? We used to have NITEL, and in 1999, all we had was about 500,000 phone lines. But we liberalized, we brought in private sector, and so today we have those GSM companies who have employed thousands directly and indirectly millions, who have paid trillions of taxes into government, and who have helped to increase the productivity of many businesses. Now that is private sector. If you are coming to your own area, broadcasting, in the past it used to be NTA, FRCN, but we decided to liberalize, and now consumers have options, we've created jobs, we've democratized access to information, and that's part of what the private sector does. Same way you can look at it in banking, you can look at it in airlines. So in critical sectors of the economy that we've brought in the private sector, we've seen progress. Yeah, they've made their returns, and which is important, because the entrepreneur that takes risk to invest deserves a decent returns. But in addition, they've helped the community, they've helped individuals, and they've also returned taxes and paid taxes to government. So my own message is we should not give ourselves the whole idea that we need to choose between profit and community.
And now that you're talking about help, perhaps you should also help us make sense of the role the NESG is playing in providing constructive policy statements and recommendations, as well as agenda setting for the economic team of the government.
Right. So the NESG's role, I mean, we play, what we say, four roles, really. One role is to be a convener. That's why we have the Nigerian Days Annual Summit and today's dialogue, where we convene critical stakeholders to discuss and to share ideas and exchange thoughts. Our second role really is around being a watchdog. And so periodically we review the state of the economy and we come up with our own views of what's working and what's not working. By 2 weeks' time, August 31st, we'll be having an outlook session for the private sector, a review of the first half of this year, and our sense of what is working, what is not working. And so that's our watchdog role. Sometimes we act as interveners. When there's a need to really get involved, we do get involved. And with our partners, the Ministry of Economic and Budget and Economic Planning, we have certain programs where we've been working together to get things done. And lastly, we're working with the Prime Minister of Finance, the Coordinating Minister of Economy, where we're providing a bit of technical support in areas that are required for macroeconomic modeling and co. So the number of things we're doing, but for us, we rather work in the background and not really come in front, because it's important to gain trust. And you gain trust when you're delivering value without making so much noise about it.
Ni, Yusuf, we're aware of what the NESG is doing for Nigeria. Thank you, and thanks for coming on the show.